The game of life is first played in your head before it is ever played out on the field. Are you mentally ready? Because here's the key. The way you think determines the way you feel, and the way you feel will determine how you act. The thoughts that take front row in the seat of your mind, if you will, are very critical to how you will behave in life. These thoughts, these beliefs, these things that sit right on the frontal lobe, they determine whether or not you will succeed in life. So here's the question. Are you mentally ready, or are you mentally flat-footed? Let's find out today in today's TED Talk. Hey, my name is Dr. Tracy Barnes, and welcome to TED Talk. What is mental readiness? Well, I think the first place to begin is always with the Word of God, and the book of Proverbs says this: be careful how you think. Your life is shaped by your thoughts. The New Testament writers put it this way. Peter calls mental readiness a sober mind, or a mind of balanced judgment, when he writes, therefore, preparing your minds for action, be sober-minded. Set your hope fully on the grace that will be brought to you at the revelation of Jesus Christ. Paul calls it a renewed or a transformed mind. That is, a mind that is in conformity with God's truth. He writes, we need to be renewed in the spirit of our mind. Whether sober-minded or renewed mind, mental readiness is the ability to think righteously, or better put, to think rightly in all situations. But how can I know if I'm mentally ready or not? Well, I want to give you 4 indicators. Now, there are a lot more, but I want to give you 4 that I have observed, not only in my own life, but more importantly, in the lives of those that I have witnessed and seen and know firsthand have been successful. And by the way, when I say successful, I'm not talking about earning lots of money or owning great amount of possessions. There are a lot of people that I know who are successful in those ways, but their lives are not successful. When I say successful in life, I'm talking about people whose lives are such that others look to them and say, whatever it is you've got, pal, I want it, because I can see how you live, how you relate to your spouse, how you relate to people around you, how people are just drawn into you naturally because of the character, the way you live, every aspect of your life. That's what I'm after when I say success. So let me give you today those 4 indicators that give us an idea of whether or not we are mentally ready. And remember, the game of life is first played in your head before it's ever played on the field. Well, here's the first of those indicators. It is the word confident. That is self-confidence, but not self-confidence that's just based on me, but rather it is a self-confidence that rests on God confidence. In other words, I know, or these people know, that our lives are not played out as a game of chance where the dice is rolled and I hope I'm lucky. I don't view life that way, and the Bible tells me not to view that life way, but rather I see that God is sovereign, and I know that God is sovereign, and as such, I am not a slave to fate, but rather I know that God is working in my life. Yes, He gives me free will, and I have the ability to choose, but in the midst of my choices, I know that God is there guiding me along the way. I know that God is sovereign in every facet of my life, which is why the Bible tells us to trust God. Again, the writer of Proverbs says this: trust in the Lord with all of your heart, and do not lean to your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge Him, and He will make straight your paths. That first indicator is confidence, confident, self-confidence, but a self-confidence that rests in a God confidence. The second of those indicators is the word positive. When I say positive, I'm talking about people who just ooze positivity. In other words, these are people that will celebrate the good fortunes of others instead of complaining and saying, why didn't I get that? Why didn't that happen to me? You know, when you're around people that are always complaining about why things never go good for them and really criticize those that do, you want nothing to do with them. But positive people, they celebrate your good fortune. Not only do they do that, but these are also people who forgive wrongs and injustices. They do not hold on to grudges, because there's nothing worse that will create negativity in your life than to hold on to unforgiveness, to hold on to a grudge, an unwillingness to forgive and let go. Positive people don't do that. They forgive wrongs. They let go of the injustices. And they also embrace failure as a learning experience. They don't get down on themselves when things don't go right. In fact, they take a step back and say, what went wrong? And let me evaluate. Let me learn from this experience. You know, when I think about positive people, the Bible character that immediately comes to mind is Joseph. Let me read to you from Genesis chapter 50, where it says, "But Joseph said to them," that is Joseph's brothers, who were now very afraid because they knew what they had done to Joseph when they had sold him years ago into slavery. Their father Jacob was now dead, and they're fearing that now Joseph is going to take his revenge on them. But Joseph says to them, "Do not fear, for I am in the place of God. As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive as they are today. So do not fear. I will provide for you and your little ones." And thus he comforted them and spoke kindly to them. Here was a man who understood what positivity is all about. His life oozed that because, remember, he was confident in that he trusted in God's sovereignty. He said, what you had meant for evil, God meant for good. And he understood that God was working that out in his life. But he also was not willing to hang on to all that had been done wrong to him, but rather he forgave his brothers. And in the midst of that, he was learning as they were learning. And as such, we need to emulate and copy that example. Joseph is a perfect example of what it means to be positive. Well, let me give you another indicator, and it's the word flexible. That is the ability to navigate change, particularly in this modern world where change is normative. You know, back in ancient times, when the Bible was being written, things did not change that rapidly. But you and I, living in the 21st century, well, change happens a great deal. And one of the indicators of whether I can be successful in life is not just my confidence in God, not just the fact that I'm positive that God's working in my life, but rather I'm also flexible. I have the capability to adapt to new and different and changing requirements. I embrace change. I don't try to fight it or to run from it. That will never do any good because people, you need to understand, change is not going away. We live in a world of change. We need to be open to that change, to embrace it, open to the plans and the ideas of others who come into our life, the willingness to bend, not always to have my way. Because, you know, I discovered something a long time ago. Rigid, stubborn people rarely advance. You read from the prophet Jeremiah regarding Judah. It says, "But they did not obey or incline their ear, but they walked in their own counsels and the stubbornness of their evil hearts, and they went backward, not forward." Listen, if you've not built flexibility into your life, and by the way, when I say flexible, I'm not talking about adapting, changing your core beliefs. No. Your core beliefs are what they are. I'm just talking about the environments in which we live. They're always changing, and learning to be flexible, you will be an individual who truly begins to succeed in life. And then finally, there's one more indicator that I want to bring to our attention, and that is the word intrepid. I like that word. That is, I am not going to let the fear of the unknown hold me back. You know, a lot of people are fearful of a great many things, and we've all experienced it. And as a result, we've not ventured out and taken on new ideas, new tasks, new things because we're afraid. But those who succeed, they are intrepid. They have a willingness to take on new challenges, to grow in their knowledge and life experience, a willingness, if you will, to take measured risk. They don't want to stand on the sidelines watching other people do life. They want to get on the field of play and do life. This is what you and I need to be, so that we began to engage and embrace all that God has for us. You know, there's a quote from the American writer Mark Twain that I really like. He wrote this more than a century ago, but it still has a lot of relevance today. Here's what he wrote. 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the ones that you did do. So throw off the bow lines. Sail away from the safe harbor. Catch the trade winds in your sail. Explore, dream, discover. In other words, intrepid. Don't let the fear of the unknown hold you back. There may be things right now, there may be some new challenges, new opportunities that you have wanted to embrace, but fear has gotten hold of you. I want to challenge you today to go out and take hold of those things and run. You will then begin to embrace life that God meant, to really enjoy it to its fullest when you begin to embrace those things and not just stand on the sideline and look at them. Remember, the game of life is played out first in your head before it is ever played out on the field. What you're thinking is going to determine how you feel, and what you feel is going to play out in how you act. You and I want to be successful. We want our lives to be such that they bring glory to God, but they're also attractive. There's an aroma, if you will, that drifts out to people around us, and they're drawn into us. They're attracted to us because they see the quality of life. They see that indeed we are confident. We have a self-confidence because we have a God confidence. They see that we're positive because we celebrate the good fortunes of others. We're not hanging on to wrongs that have been done to us. We forgive, and we don't worry about our failures. We learn from them and move on. We are flexible. We have the willingness to adapt to change because we know that we live in a changing world. And we are also intrepid in that we don't let fear hold us back. We embrace those things we're wanting to do. Game of life played out in your head first before it's ever played out on the field. The writer of Proverbs caught this when he said, "Be careful how you think. Your life is shaped by your thoughts." Hey, listen, thanks for joining me today in TED Talk. And if this has been helpful for you, please hit that like button, because the more likes that I get, it says send this out and make it more available to other people to hear this content. And I would love for people to get in on what God is doing. But again, thank you for being a part. And as always, God's very best to you.